Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the James and Brown podcast. I'm your host Raj, and with me is my co-host Spencer. Spencer, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just got back home from work, and I'm ready for another awesomely long podcast.
In contrast to last week, I'm doing fantastic. I finished all my final exams. I'm on summer break now. I have all the time in the world to watch anime and play RPGs.
Yeah, I'm not at that space yet. One more exam, but almost there. And I need to be, because the sheer amount of anime that came out this season is overwhelming.
Holy crap, there's a lot of anime this season. Oh my god. Last Sunday, we spent over 8 hours watching anime together. 8 hours. And we still didn't get through all of them.
No, and then I had to spend another 5 by myself, and you spent all day yesterday trying to catch up.
I spent around 7.5 yesterday, and I still haven't caught up to everything I wanted to. Haven't.
And so what we tried to do is we tried to dwindle down the list of over 50, I've heard, anime that came out this season to probably about 10 ones we're going to talk about in detail, a couple ones that might be dropped, and some that we just hate.
Yeah, we don't want to go too long with just talking about these. Again, we're trying to aim for under an hour in terms of our podcast, to keep them a bit on the shorter side. So we've compiled a list of what we're following so far. We haven't watched all of them yet. Spencer's gone through what he is set in now. I still have quite a few to go through because I like to watch everything.
Yeah, I don't like to watch everything. There are obviously certain things that I will not watch.
Yeah.
To be fair, I have made some allowances this time.
You have, and for good reason.
For good reason.
Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. The first one we'll be talking about is Black Bullet. So, that opening.
La 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 la. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
The first 5 seconds of the opening is just Attack on Titan.
It is Attack on Titan.
You and I are sitting here, we're eating our food, just ready to watch anime, and then you look at me and you're like, the hell was that? And I'm like, was that Titan?
And you even told me, before we started, you're like, this is the Titan of spring. And I was like, oh, I'm so pumped. And it's
literally copies Titan.
Intro. I mean, come on, that is Titan. You can't even say that's original.
You can't pretend. It's very Titan inspired.
But the weird thing is, it just drops flat on its face and enters into some pop Japanese. I don't know, that intro is...
Yeah, it goes from this hardcore Titan thing, and then it goes into generic anime opening.
Oh, totally. And it just seems mished and matched together, which is kind of my feelings for this series. It does have a lot of... the art is amazing. It's really good art. The action sequences are cool.
I think I like the series a lot more than you do right now.
Yeah.
I really like it. I like the main character. I particularly like his sidekick.
Yeah.
Enju, I think her name is. I don't remember the main character's name. Do you remember? No. Oh, and to add to the Titan aspect, the voice of the main character is also Aaron.
Yeah.
So
I'm expecting Levi to come in at some point. He's going to be somewhere. I know it. So
because he's in goddamn everything right now.
That bad guy, with the mask. I don't remember what his name is either, but he reminds me of the main bad guy character of Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, I don't think you ever watched Hunter x Hunter.
No, I attempted to read it and I couldn't get into it.
But he was a really creepy Joker-like character with a kind of a mask-like clown face.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of psychotic friendliness, that's kind of what they have going there. It's really weird. In the story, the main character and the girl...
Enju. I remember her name, but I can't remember his.
Apparently... in a Titan-like fashion, humanity has surrounded themselves in walls of some kind, and are fighting off this infectious insect disease that has zombie-like principles to it, which it takes over people and there's a host and all this stuff. So it's kind of interesting.
It's like Titan set in a more futuristic setting, which I quite like. I like that the main character isn't overpowered in any way. He's just a normal guy who his main source of damage is the gun he has. He's just like a normal soldier. But he's not a soldier, he's just a teenager, right? And the girl is everything. She has all the power.
Yeah.
But even then, she's not overpowered in her own realm. There are others who are stronger than her.
Yeah, I'm still thinking there's some hidden secret to the main character, which I assume there is, that'll come out later, especially at the beginning when we saw that flashback to him, when he kind of got up to fight that big fallen down vulture-looking thing.
Yeah.
At the beginning. That seemed really interesting. I wonder what he did there. All that kind of stuff. So Black Bullet, definitely keeping it around. The 2 episodes have kept me interested. It does cliffhanger-like episodes, which I like a lot.
I don't know. It wasn't really cliffhanger-like to me.
They're not episodic. It's not like something happens, something ends, then the next, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's very, there's a grand plot to it, which is
I really like the relationship between the main character and Enju. And the way he tries to, he resents society for like treating them the way they do. The first 2 episodes, or the second one mostly, is very much about the racism in the world, which is understandable. I mean, they had that in Titan as well. And it's just about him having to deal with it because he's one of the few people who treats those kind of, they're called cursed children. He treats them properly. Basically, if a pregnant woman comes into contact with one of these monsters, the child she gives birth to is always a girl, of course. And they're called cursed children who have like properties that the monsters do. So they have super strength and stuff like that. And they're the only ones who can actually fight the monsters out. And because as stupid as humanity is, they hate these children, even though they're the one and only hope of the world, and they want to kill them.
But it's the classic magnifying lens on human history and how we deal with things we don't understand. I don't know. It has very good overarching themes to it. The art's great, music's good, except the intro.
The fighting is great. The action is fantastic.
And they're liberal with blood, which is what I like.
Yeah.
Like, if like Titan-esque, the kind of cheesy cut and stab, it hurts, kind of fall down thing, that's kind of lame. But when they actually go crazy, like at that one sequence when they're having the meeting with all the other people at the table with all the girls and their owners or whatever that is, what do you call them? They had just mass death. Like, it was great.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
It was good. So we're assuming that people have watched up to the most recent episodes of these things. We'll try not to spoil anything because there's really not much to spoil in the first 2 episodes. And we can't recommend that we're up to date today on a Sunday.
Normally we record on Saturdays, so we consider Saturday to be our cutoff date for any new episodes.
Yeah. So if there's anything new that we're missing, obviously we'll cover it the next week if we haven't dropped the series yet.
Yeah. So Black Bullet, we're both following it.
Yep.
We're both enjoying it.
It's good. And there's not that much fan service at all, which is what I like.
Not yet. That one girl has big boobs.
Yeah, but...
You literally dropped a series because a woman had big boobs.
No, you don't understand. Everyone dropped that series. It's garbage.
I watched it.
You didn't watch it.
I watched it.
You skipped over it 100 times. We're talking about Blade and Soul.
No, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about...
which one?
Witchcraft Works. Blade and Soul, I understand why you dropped.
There was a lot of anime going on last season, and I just didn't have time for Witchcraft.
Anyway, moving on.
My life is still okay.
Next, we're talking about Chaika the Coffin Princess. Just forewarning here, pretty much every anime we're going to be giving the English name to because that's just what Crunchy translates them to, and so that's what we mostly know them as. So yeah, Chaika the Coffin Princess. You and I were like okay on this in the very first episode, and then it got to the part where she used her sniper for the first time to kill that deer or the unicorn, and our faces were like, "Oh my god, that was amazing!"
Well, we actually, I think, even before, like we were on the hype train the minute the unicorn started being super hardcore.
The unicorn was terrifying.
I've never seen a creepier unicorn. There ain't no rainbows with that unicorn.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
So, anyways, the unicorn gets destroyed, cut in half, intestines and stuff. Like that's realistic.
Yeah.
It's
so
good.
our main character is I'm really bad with names on animes that have just started.
Well,
I don't remember.
Even look at me. I don't know names.
I don't remember his name. I don't remember his sister's name. Oh, Akari and his name starts with a T. Whatever.
Taika.
Taika?
I don't know.
Toka? Maybe it's Toka.
I don't know, something like that.
I'm going to call him Toka this week, and then I'll get his actual name next week.
Don't hate.
So Toka, and he's a saboteur. In this world, a saboteur is mostly like a mercenary.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the world is like not at war, so he has no work to do. So he's just a homeless and jobless bum. And so he meets Chaika, who's our other main character, who has a giant coffin on her back, and that's why she calls herself, or she's called the Coffin Princess. And there's a giant sniper that she keeps inside of it. And the world has magic because there are wizards. But wizards are weird in this world where they like infuse their magic into weapons and they need like incantations. Like Chaika's method of magic is like infusing it into her sniper rifle. So her sniper can do a bunch of different things.
But the other guy's method of magic in the mansion was actually just the fact that he had a very powerful object that was feeding magic into his whole house, and then he was connected to it.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really an enchantment. I don't really understand how the magic works. But
that's what Toya, whatever the main character's name, said, or Toka, that the guy can do magic without an incantation, and that was unusual.
Oh, he said that?
Cool. Also, during the, I was going to call it Rainbow, during the unicorn fight, when he like goes like blood iron, that was cool.
Yeah, they said this really cool incantation to get themselves into blood mode, and it's really cool.
Yeah, their hair goes red, their eyes glow red.
Yeah, it's really... Yeah.
He kind of gets tattoos over him, and he basically becomes, I won't call him superhuman, but he kind of surpasses the abilities of a regular human. Like, he can take a few more hits.
I think that's what that does. I think it's just pretty much that.
But it has to have a downfall, because he just uses it whenever he needs to fight.
Kind of like a Kaioken, is that what it's
I was thinking more of Super Saiyan, but along those lines.
It's not really Super Saiyan, it doesn't really transform, but it's more like Kaioken, where he just kind of goes a step above.
I don't know, his hair changed color. That's kind of Super Saiyan-like.
Red and red. I don't watch that much Dragon Ball Z.
You watched like 4 seasons of it. That's a lot of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, it is. I watch as much Dragon Ball Z as the creator originally meant for me to watch, and I am content. So, Chaika the Coffin Princess is great for now. I really liked the end of the second episode.
I freaking love the relationship between Toka and his sister Akari. It's so funny.
And they trust each other, and it's good.
She's like I'm pretty sure she's a Brokon. I'm pretty sure it's going to go the Onichan route at some point. But the way they handle it is hilarious, where I think he calls himself like inadequate a lot. And she like berates him constantly. But when he calls himself inadequate, she just says, I won't let anyone insult my brother, even if it's my brother.
She has a weird situation where she'll destroy him. But then she has so much respect for him that she calls him Oni-sama the whole time. Like she has like just this reverence. And it's so weird because at the beginning, he's like, I'm just an inadequate person. And then he just destroys a unicorn. Like, these things probably kill everybody on a daily basis.
But I understand what he's saying by when he means inadequate. He means he can't do anything but fight. That's
true.
His only ability.
He's probably just super bummed because the world...
But this is what I really like about the main character, despite not knowing his name. He's not a hero at all.
He's an anti-hero. It's great. He's like, you know what?
He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's like, I wish the world would go back to war. That's why I'm going with this girl. And I'm like, this anime could go 2 routes. Either A, he joins the other side and starts fighting the girl. And I was like, that's not really likely. But the fact of the matter is, the girl just wants to bury her father. But in doing so...
Or so she says.
But at this point, the guy doesn't even care.
Yeah.
He's just there to try to trigger the world
She's the daughter of a king who basically was horrible and killed hundreds of people. Yeah. And he was defeated 5 years ago. And she was supposed to be dead. But she's not. And she's pretty much collecting parts of her father's body. Because her dad was so goddamn OP, just pieces of his body, like severed hands and stuff, hold a shit ton of magic. Mm-hmm. And so she just wants to like give her father a funeral, or so she says. But everybody's like, if you gather all his pieces, you'll have so much magic, you can conquer the world.
Or you could turn it into a weapon that could conquer the world.
Yeah. And
kind of like the Spyrex weapon thing from Tales of Xillia that we were just playing. You know, they gathered all the...
Oh, the Lance of Kresnik, which actually didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's kind of the same thing. They could make a Lance of Kresnik.
It shot a hole in the atmosphere and caused global warming.
Shout out to Tales of Xillia fans. We're waiting on Tales of Xillia 2.
Oh, I have so many RPGs backlogged, and I'm just waiting for Xillia 2. Anyway, the one we were talking about is, okay, first of all, the action in this series, so good. When he fights that big burly guy with the sword, that was amazing.
They don't skip anything. Like, it is just detailed hit for hit. And it's so good.
And the fact is, the main character isn't very strong physically, but he's clever.
Yeah, he is. That was so good.
So it's always about him using his brain in fights, and it's really cool.
I hope they keep up with that kind of fight animation.
It's great. I love it. Really I like it more than the OP shoot the unicorn in half thing.
But still, that was pretty realistic too. I mean, you got to like jump on his back and subdue him, right?
Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, like one of the, I guess he'd be an antagonist. He says if you like, she'll have this weapon, you can conquer the world, and he's like, so what? I'm an assassin or a mercenary. If the world goes to war, I'll have work again. Yeah. That's awesome. This world sucks right now.
And he jumped off and went on his way. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And they made a companionship of 3 people who are now against the entire world. And that is a great world
it's fantastic.
To watch, at least.
This is going to be a good one.
Sweet. So that's 2 down. We're now on to If Her Flag Breaks.
I'm surprised you like this one because it's pure harem. And I love harem.
Well, you know what? I like it, but I'm not in love with it. Like... If my life starts getting really busy, it'll be one of the first ones that I drop.
I have a feeling you're going to drop this.
Very, very, very quickly, probably. It's funny. It was there. It was one of the last ones that I watched. I wasn't really a big fan of like the needless push into the bath scene from the trap inside there, but
the trap.
It's funny.
When he showed up, I was like, oh, that's really cute. Like the best looking girl so far, and then like, oh, it's a guy. I was like, you would do that to me, wouldn't you?
But it's pretty funny the mechanics between him and the other girls.
But the trapper doesn't want to be a trap. That's like that's what I love.
Yeah, he's not one of those ones who just accepts it. He's like, but I'm a guy.
This whole anime is based on the main character being able to see flags. Like, you know how people always say, oh, that was a death flag. The character's going to die next episode. We said that in like the Pilot's Love Song review.
Yeah.
And so the main character can actually see those flags. So there's like love flags, friendship flags, stuff like that. And this trap has a manly flag on top of his head. So because he just wants to be a man.
And so he announces, we're going to go puke without anything stopping us. I think he's like, I'm not sure that's something a man would do, actually.
The variety of flags that show up is really funny.
It's really funny, especially when that girl comes in and just like has a million flags shoot out of her head.
The one that was originally the friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like just a million love flags. Or even in the most recent episode, it just poured out of the building. Or when he tried to shut down the sister flag or the sibling flag.
It dodged it. That makes no sense. How does it? He has the power to break flags by saying specific phrases. So he tries to break his this girl who considers herself his older sister. She has a family love flag, and he tries to break it because it's annoying. And the flag dodges his words. And it's just what the heck?
This is where I begin losing interest in the series. Now I'm looking back on it. Like the first episode had a very intense death moment, but it was really stupid. Like there's no reason she should have died.
The death was stupid, but I was okay with it.
It was fine. But what I'm like you were saying about Isshuukan Friends. It seems like it's building up a dark side that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh, these powers are so hard. And then in 2 days, he has like 5 or 6 girls whose flags he can't break. Like, how does that even make any sense? And in the opening, how many girls? 15?
It's a lot of girls. It's going to be a big harem.
Like, the entire opening was devoted to trying to introduce all of them in a different way.
This is going to be awesome. I love it. I love harem.
You're going to have to be the only one to talk about it because now that I'm talking about it more, I'm getting more and more frustrated.
But there is a good mystery going on with the whole Titanic sinking.
There is.
I do like the first episode. The reason Spencer got into it in the first episode is because he starts giving like this sob story, and then like the main girl is just like, yeah, I don't want to hear any of that, and she like totally shuts him down.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm cursed. She's like, I don't care.
Yeah, it was interesting, but like what I found interesting about the first episode especially is these 2 girls. Oh, you know what? That's another thing. I hate him as a main character.
Why?
He has absolutely no backbone as a man. Like, when they were building the house for him, he didn't even offer to help. He just stood there and watched the whole time.
I would have done the same thing.
And he lets these girls drag him around everywhere.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
You know what that's called? It's called a harem protagonist.
Oh, my God.
That's what most harem protagonists are like.
That's why I don't watch harems at all.
That's why my favorite kind of harem is the one where the guy rejects the harem. Because he actually has a personality.
He hasn't rejected the harem.
No, he's not going to reject it.
He kissed one of the girls right in the first
I told you,
episode.
this is going to be a pure harem. It's not going to be like a good one.
It's going to be a pure...
It's going to be an okay one.
I'm not going to be there.
You're still watching it though.
Well, this one's on my potential drop list.
Okay, I'm giving
it one more episode, and then I'm dropping it. I'm gonna have to hear about it every Saturday because you're not gonna drop it. But whatever.
It's great. Moving on. Next anime, Nanana, Buried Treasure.
Yeah.
Terrible name for a girl, by the way. It's just 3 sevens.
It's kind of annoying.
Doesn't make any sense.
3 sevens? Isn't that 2 sevens?
No, it's 3.
Oh, no.
The treasure chest had 3 sevens on it too. Come on.
Yeah,
like they give you the giant hint.
And the island is called Nane Island or
is
something?
it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's named after
It was weird. So this one's about this girl who got murdered. And so she's a ghost that's bound to this dorm room. And this guy moves in. I think his name is Jugo.
Yeah.
And so it's about him and his antics with the ghost girl. Her name is Nanana. And so the first episode is just like kind of slice of lifey. Just him and the antics trying to get used to the girl. The second episode, you finally get a purpose. You find out that she used to collect... She was rich as hell when she was alive, which is probably why she got murdered.
Yeah.
And she's like hidden her treasure all around the island. She knows where it is, but she won't tell anybody where it is. And she tells him that to find her killer, he'll probably have to look for her treasure because that'll either draw him to her or it will like help him find her. Help him find the killer because these items, her treasure have like magical powers, like magical items. And so the story, at least from second episode onward, is about him trying to find the items.
Yeah, it's very convoluted at this point, which is what I like. I mean, as much as a story about a high school kid moving into a dorm with a girl in it is, it's pretty funny because immediately she lays down the law.
She's like, as soon as he walks in, he's like, all right, let's have a battle. And the whole time I was like, okay, so what are they going to play? And then they straight up just fight.
Yeah, they're pretty much fighting.
The guy brawls with a ghost.
Yeah. And the weird thing about the ghost is, unless she makes the initiation, he can't touch her.
She has to touch him first.
So she touches him first. So they're battling, and he gets his hand, like, pins against her chest and stuff, right?
Like, she's ready to dislocate his arm.
And he's like, I am so close to God's territory. This is worth it. And he twists his arm to get his palm downwards, because he's like, I can't enjoy this with the back of my hand. Twists his palm downwards, and she dislocates his arm completely.
But he got to feel her boob.
And from that moment forward, he becomes totally just not interested in her. He is interested, but all of the romance aspect is pretty much gone. she just eliminated.
I'm glad he's not trying to romance with Ghost.
It's really good.
I wouldn't like that at all.
Like he was like, if I win, I want you to try to be my live-in girlfriend or whatever. And she's like, okay, and then she just destroys him. The anime is really interesting. I really like the main protagonist.
I like the main character a lot as well, and we have some hintings at his backstory, which sounds interesting.
He was able to withstand a lot of like beatings. He actually gets punched a lot. Actually, there's one time where he was in the classroom.
He really needs to stop trusting maids.
Yeah, he really likes maids a lot, and maids with glasses. That was pretty hardcore. I loved when he got called all the way into the office for when the maid called him with the glasses, and then he's like, "Wait, you called for me? Okay, I'm out of here." And he just didn't care. It's really cool.
One moment that doesn't make sense to me, but I still found it hilarious, is when he tells Nanami she has no smell, but like other girls smell good. She just punches him in the face instantly.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I was like, "What? Why did you take offense to that?"
Maybe she thought he was being creepy or something.
I don't know.
See, this anime's hard to classify because after 2 episodes, I seriously have no idea what's going on.
I don't like the story. I honestly don't like the story. I think it's kind of boring. But I like Nanami, and I like the main character Jugo. He's funny. He's cool.
The way this is going to go, personally, I think, is all these characters that we're being introduced to will eventually join the adventure club. They're going to start trying to find all the treasures. Eventually, there's going to be a bad protagonist coming in.
We already have that. We have 2 thieves who are also looking for the treasures.
Yeah, so it goes in and in and in. And you know what? If it keeps doing the super smart detective solves the puzzle in 1 episode, I'm going to get bothered.
I doubt it will.
That's why I dropped that God of Puzzles anime way back in the day. It was this guy who was really good at solving puzzles. It was really interesting. But man, like he solved a puzzle every time.
This is why I say I don't like overpowered protagonists.
Yeah, exactly. And detectives, like those detective stories where they solve it immediately, like Hyoka, even though Hyoka really wasn't about that, I don't know. Like, there's no struggle.
That's still on my list.
The struggle is not real. So I don't know.
That reference.
It's not on my potential drop list yet because it is good. But I just don't know if it's going to take any top spots this season.
It's the same as mine. It's not on the... I'm not planning to drop it anytime soon because I am enjoying it, but I have no care for the story.
Okay, next is one of my personal favorites for this season.
The Kawaii Complex. Okay, the issue I have with the Kawaii Complex, I've stated it in passing before, is that I freaking love Sakuraso no Pet Kanojo. I love that anime. 10 out of 10. Watch it. It's amazing.
It's on my list.
It's so good. Kawaii Complex is similar, but it's not as good.
We're running into the same Toradora issue where this is the first one that I've seen and I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Whereas you watch Sakuraso first and like it better, and they're telling me that it's better.
See,
but
that's
I've never seen
the issue. Is if I saw Kawaii, if I've never seen Sakuraso, I would like this much more than I do right now.
It's amazing. I like it.
That's the issue, and it's not really fair to the anime, but it's just not as good.
The reason I like it so much is because it's drawing a lot of references from Meison Ikoku. This, again, I keep referencing it. Okay, Meison Ikoku was one of those old drawn anime, hand-drawn styles from like the 70s or 80s about a guy who moves in, or he's living currently in a dorm, and he lives with a crazy guy who doesn't really have a job and is a creep. Sound familiar? A girl who walks around with barely any clothes on.
Sounds familiar.
And an old lady who is very interested in everyone's lives. So it's kind of that way. And he's about to rage and leave, just like the main character of Kawaii Complex, opens the door to find the girl that he eventually falls in love with, who in Meison Ikoku is actually turning into the manager, whereas Kawaii, or whatever her name is actually living in the complex. So it's a little different, but so similar. And I love Meison Ikoku a lot. And so this is why it's reaching out to me a lot more, because the characters are so similar, and it's like I'm living it again in beautiful art. The art style and the toning is...
The art is great in this anime.
I love the purple hues that it has all over the place. It's really good.
The one thing, I told you about this before, but one thing I don't like about the art is that they have words popping up around the characters. And a lot of animes do that. Usually it's for comedic sake. Yeah. But the words that pop up are the words that the characters are already saying, so it's very redundant.
I'm assuming it's something that's crossing over from the manga that the mangaka wanted in because it was a signature thing of the character. I don't know. Inside Voices coming out. It's a good one, though.
But this is why I have my 3-episode rule, because the first episode I didn't care for this at all. Yeah. It was okay. I didn't really like it. I really didn't like the love interest. Second episode, I've turned around. Yeah. Because she finally... Okay, I hate characters who don't show any emotion. Hate them. And so when she finally showed emotion in the second episode, I was like, all right, I'm on board. Let's do this.
That bubble one was really good, though. It
was a very sweet episode.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is sweet. That's what it's all about. Okay, you keep skipping over it, but I really want to talk about it. Before we move on, Quiet Complex, on my list, it's going to stay.
Oh, I skipped it. Sorry.
It might reach up there, though. I can't believe you skipped it. This one, if not for
cool.
Captain Earth, this anime that we're about to talk about next is probably going to take the cake for this season.
Holy crap, No Game No Life is amazing.
Yeah, No Game No Life.
We just talked about how good the art was in Kawaii Complex. No Game No Life blows it out of the water.
It's absolutely crazy. Like, think Kuroko when they get into the zone and those kind of scenes multiplied by a million and put into an art style that is just way more
It's much more stylized.
It's way more dark and atmospheric. It's really good.
One thing I forgot to talk about in Black Bullet, something I always say in anime is atmosphere. Atmosphere is so important. Black Bullet gets it right, which is one of the reasons I really like it. And No Game No Life also gets it right. Yeah. Like I said before, I don't like overpowered characters. An exception to that rule is when they're overpowered and they flaunt it. Yeah. For example, Luffy's kind of an example, but not really. It's because you don't know he's overpowered most of the time. But this is what I love. The main character is... He's so good at any game that he can destroy anybody, and he lets them know it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
And the story is pretty much there's a sibling duo who operate two characters each online and wipe everybody out.
They go from game to game to game to just get the top scores, beat everybody, and become the best.
Both of them are neat, so they never leave the house.
He's a neat, she's a hikikomori.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So he's 16 years old, she's 11 years old.
Yeah. But they live together, they're... totally reliant on each other. No idea where their parents are.
They're so close. I love their relationship.
Yeah. It's not creepy. It's not brocon or syscon or anything.
They actually explain that. It's so funny. Like at one point she's lying on his lap and a girl comes in and he's like, oh, by the way, she's my sister, so this is totally not weird. Yeah.
And then the sister's like, I think she kind of has some brocon.
Probably.
She's like, oh, he got rejected right away or whatever, right?
She's like, you told me you never need a girlfriend. You'd only need me. He's like, you know, I can never put my hands on my own little sister. Plus, you're like 11 years old, so that's kind of illegal.
Yeah. So pretty much what happens in the anime is they own it at online games, and then they face some challenger in chess, beat them, and the guy says, oh, wow, you are good at chess. Do you wish that you were born in a different world, blah, 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 blah. They say yes. They get sucked into this altered dimension, which is governed by 10... It's 10 laws. 10 laws, pretty much. And all of them pretty much state, in a nutshell, that everything in the world is decided by games, and the outcome of said games needs to be followed.
Yep.
Pretty much it. Then there's all this other stuff, loopholes and all this stuff that makes sure you follow these rules. So they land in and immediately they begin understanding what they're supposed to do. They get money from somebody, they get clothes from these adventurers.
They just wipe... One thing I like is they don't outwardly challenge anybody unless they specifically need something.
Oh, yeah.
They need money for food, they'll challenge a girl and take her money. They need clothes to wear, they'll challenge these thieves who want to rob them and steal their clothes. Yeah. So they're not evil. People are saying that he's going to be an anti-hero, and you sort of get that vibe, but I don't really see it.
No, I think he just wants to, he's sick and tired of the world that's governed by rules that don't make sense.
One line that's absolutely amazing in this, in the second episode, I think, is he says, normally in anime and manga, like he's saying this to the audience, he says, people will try their hardest to get back to their original world. And he's like looking off to the beautiful world and he says, why the hell would you ever do that? This world is so much better.
Oh, it is. And that's the cool part about it is they don't want to get home. They want to change this world into their own home. So what they do is currently, for some strange reason, in this little rundown town, there's a battle going on of cards, and the winner becomes the king of the land.
Yeah, there's a giant tournament where you play poker, and the winner of poker...
It's not really that giant. There's I only saw a couple people in it.
Okay. Did you see the portrait for the king? His picture?
No.
It's held over a fireplace. It's literally the king's card. From a deck of cards.
Yeah. He just looks like a king.
It's the suit of the king.
So pretty much what happened is they walk in on this one girl facing this other girl, and one of the girls is obviously very uncomfortable. Her name is Steph. She becomes acquainted with the protagonists. But she's uncomfortable. She can't seem to beat this person. For some reason, the two main characters can see magic, I think.
Yeah, it's probably because they're not from this world.
Yeah, so they can see that there's some cheating going on. In the rules that govern the world, if you catch someone for cheating, they're disqualified immediately.
But only if they're caught.
Only if they're caught, and you can explain how. And he did a couple cheats himself and didn't get caught. So the girl comes onto the characters in their room and they're chatting about it because she was complaining that they didn't explain how she was cheating. And he challenges her to a game of rock, paper, scissors, which I didn't quite understand.
It was really intense. I understood it.
It was really intense. There's a lot of give and go. He pretty much tricks her to lose and also tricks her by saying...
Tricks her into a tie.
Tricks her into a tie, which means you'll have to do something that I say. She thought that he implied that she wanted a place to stay, but he said, fall in love with me. And this is hilarious because the girl's like, wouldn't it have just been easier to say, like... What did he say? She said instead?
She said, you could have just told her that she now belongs to you. Yeah. That could have worked.
And he's like, oh.
He's like, I didn't think of that.
And he goes into what makes me like him as a character so much is that he has these outrageously spastic moments where he just like goes into the flying
all of his cool factor disappears instantly.
What anime am I thinking of that has a flying grovel? What anime is
the Beelzebub? Is that it's the Oga's dad.
It is the flying grovel. He pretty much does it because his sister, she's like totally looking down on him. He grovels, says, I don't know what's going on. There's this crazy moment. And then what's really funny is how Steph is beginning to deal with the fact that she now loves him.
She has no choice in the matter.
And the way that she responds, and I love the voice of the character. It's so funny when women anime characters get the deep grovel like voice, you know? She would bang her head against the wall saying like I don't want to do this, but then she like switches. It's really funny.
I think the main it is. The voice actor is Kirito for Sora, the main character. I remember these two names, Sora and Shiro. Shiro's the little sister.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I remember that. I know why I remember Sora.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, No Game No Life is really good.
It's really good. I'm really excited for it. There's a lot of tones in the last episode that led to a big world. And I love, as I always say, I love big worlds. They introduced 12 races. They had humans, Imins? What are they even called?
Oh, they call them like Imians or something?
Imins, whatever. Humans.
There's a bunch of like different races. There's 16 and they're ranked by order of who's best at using magic. Yeah. And humans are dead last because in this universe, humans have no affinity for magic. But I'm assuming our main characters can use magic. And the main traits of the two main characters is he's a super strategist and she's a super genius. Yeah. And this is something that I love. Yeah. We need to talk about this. They're incomplete. Like, okay, alone when he plays games, when Sora plays games, he's very adept. But he knows that unless they play together, they can't, like, win anything. Yeah. Like, he considers himself complete when she's with him. And when they're actually separated, they're completely dysfunctional. Like, there was one scene where the little girl really, really, really wanted them to get together, like, in that moment. And so he pushes... she pushes Sora. She pushes Sora onto her. And there's this really awkward moment where, you know, it kind of doesn't jive with me. But Sora's, like, so groping her boobs. Yeah, and he's, like, pudding or whatever. And she goes... not here, and like kicks him out of the room all the way down. And then all of a sudden she looks around and both the siblings just had a mental breakdown. Yeah. Like he's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I need my brother. Where's my brother? She's freaking out. Yeah. Because there's apparently a rule that they have to be a certain distance away from each other. Something really dark happened to them in the past. Yeah. And the way they got over it is by helping each other out. Yeah. But they're not fully over it where they can't be separated. Mm-hmm. One thing before he started groping her, he says to his sisters, like, I can't do anything R-rated around you. That'd be, like, immoral. Yeah. And his sister's like, I don't care. Like, I like his character because, you know, but then his sister goof, like the shower scene. Like, I don't know. It's stupid. And those scenes, as pointless as they are, we'll just skip over them. It's fine. I'm going to stick with this anime. I know everyone. Be shocked. I'm going to stick with this anime. Just, I hope it cleans up its act. Because you know what? For the past 5 minutes, all we've talked about was story and plot. And we can just move on from that. I'm perfectly okay if it sticks with fan service. I'm okay if it discards it. I think it's fine either way. The story's good by itself. So this one, definitely in the top 3 so far. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. And like we said before, if it wasn't for Captain Earth, it'd be number 1. Captain Earth, which is pretty much Eureka 7, but different. Atmosphere. Yeah. Holy crap, this anime gets atmosphere right. Bones is really good. Bones is amazing. Yeah. With the exception number 6. I don't think it looked good, but it wasn't Bones' fault. I guess. Bones didn't write it. I guess. But holy crap, this anime. Okay. This is the only anime where we watched both episodes consecutively. Yeah. Because after the first episode ended, we're like, we need more. We need more right now. Well, they had a giant mech like transformation in the first episode. I love mech series so much. I just grew up on them, so I love them a lot. When the mech started combining from parts. My love for Power Rangers and Gundam just combined, and I became a huge fanboy.
Is it a commonplace thing for mech anime to recycle the same transformation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I love it.
Okay. I was like, it looks cool, but they did the same thing in the first episode.
I know. I fully understand that they're recycling it, but at the same time, like, it's so cool. It's combining.
I'm imagining them sitting in the office like, we have to set aside about 40 seconds for this transformation sequence every episode. Let's try to make this work. Pretty much.
But it works.
I like this series because we drew so many parallels to Eureka 7, and the main
Did we, though?
We did, though. He looks exactly like Renton.
And when he's a kid, he has Renton's clothes. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, and the mech looks exactly like...
No, it doesn't. It looks nothing
okay,
like...
it looks very... Okay, fine. It's drawn in a similar way.
Teppei's mech looks similar to Nervash.
Yes, very true. More like unhumanly... I like it. I like that his mech is actually like more beefy.
I liked as soon as we found out his name was Teppei, you and I screamed out, "The Iron Heart is back!
Yeah.
He hasn't left us."
We will always reference Kuroko forever. It will never change. Yeah, I just think personally, I really like it. The story's good. I love how, like we said, you said it's kind of a seinen series where the main character. Why am I blanking on his name?
Daichi.
Daichi. It's like classic shonen name, but Daichi is just so focused on his friends, and he doesn't change, and he picks up everything where he left off.
It has a bunch of A-list voice actors that are just nailing their roles. Daichi's a fantastic main character. He's so cool. Okay, main characters I like more than overpowered main characters are main characters who don't take any bullshit. Mm-hmm. I love them. Daichi's one of them, but normally with a character like that, for example, Oga from Beelzebub, he'll just yell at you and stuff like that. Daichi is quiet. He'll listen to what you're saying, even if he doesn't like it. And then he'll leave and he'll go do his own thing. Yep. That's why I like him.
I really like that.
That one scene where they like put that, I think they call it a lead gear on his head.
Yeah.
And he accepts it. And then he asks, like, where's my live blaster? That's a gun that basically powers the mech. They have to like shoot the mech to make it move. And only like certain people can hold it. Daichi's one, Teppei's another, I think. And so Daichi... He asks like this, there's one just scummy guy. And he wants to keep everybody who has any sort of power under control using these lead gears.
He probably has some connection with those other mechs that keep coming into
I don't think atmosphere. He does. I think it's something else.
My question is, just briefly before we go on.
Yeah.
The mechs that are coming, do they come only like once every 8 years? Like why did... I
don't know. They haven't explained. Well, one thing I want to know is why is their source of power called libido? What the heck's up with that?
Well, you know.
Anyway.
Maybe he fills it up after seeing the girl or something. I don't know.
Moving on. What the hell was I saying? Okay, so Daichi, like, he gets a lead gear on. He walks out onto this beach. Like, he tells the other two, I'll be on the beach. Come and hang out with me. He holds his hand in the air. Somehow he knew how to do this. And he summons his gun. And he just shoots, like, the tower that controls the lead gear.
And I love what he says. He's walking. He's like, man, this is more painful than I thought. He's not complaining. He's not, like, suffering. He's just like, man, this sucks. But he's so...
he's so awesome. This is such a good character.
Who just understand other people and classic. He's the classic like main character that you put up on a pedestal. That he doesn't really have many faults right now.
But at the same time, he's not very good at what he does. He's not good at piloting. Yeah. Absolutely, he's not good at fighting.
Well, it's not really fair. The second episode, he got given a crappy mech because that guy tried to kill him. That's stupid.
Yeah,
I hate him so much.
I love him because he's supposed to be hated.
Well, I know he's supposed to be hated, but I hate him.
One thing that doesn't make any sense is like they're like, okay, we need to kill Daichi because we want control over these people, and you can't control Daichi. And like, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. You want to control them. What doesn't make sense is killing half of your power that is saving you from destruction. Like, really? Well, you have 2 live blasters.
Yeah.
Only one of them has successfully worked, and you want to get rid of it? What is wrong with you?
Well, they're stupid. I'm assuming he has ties with the enemy. I just love how the girl just totally wasted millions of German dollars.
Yeah. I love Hannah. Because I love the way the relationships are going, where the hacker girl's going for Teppei and Hannah's going for...
Yeah, they split it. There's not a triangle.
There's no love triangle. I hate love triangles.
I hate it too.
It's beautiful.
It's really good.
And you see their relationship kind of forming very naturally because they haven't had too much contact yet. Yeah. Mostly it's been focusing on him and Teppei's relationship, which I also love. It's so good.
We were hoping. We were like, this go like when we first saw the flashback between him and Daichi, we were noticing that there's really good bromance going on where they were fighting who could surprise each other, get the pendant, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like the person who surprises the person last gets the pendant. And they had this ongoing thing. And then they grew up and we didn't know if they were together still as friends. And immediately they see each other, Daichi's boom, hits it right off. It's not like a negative tie mat kind of thing. It's like a full on together friendship, which is what I really like.
Daichi has what Luffy has in that he can bring people together very easily.
Kind of like what you have, like what you've been saying.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Do I have the power of a gum fruit?
I guess you do, man.
I wish I did. That'd be really cool.
If you could eat any fruit from the One Piece universe.
Ace. You don't even have to ask me. I had to eat Ace's fruit.
You wouldn't have the black hole power?
No, because I don't like Blackbeard. I like Ace. Ace is the coolest.
You don't get to become the character traits.
But I feel like Ace. Ace is my favorite character. When okay, you know what? I found out he died maybe 3 years before I started reading One Piece. Yeah. And my friend was like, "Oh, Ace died." I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that means, but that sucks." And so as I was finally reading One Piece, I was like, "Man, this manga is really good." And then it introduced Ace. I'm like, "Oh, Ace is so cool!" And yeah, Ace is my favorite character. And I was like, "Oh,
this is Ace."
I was dreading.
I'm glad you didn't
dreading that chapter.
Wow, what a tangent!
Yeah,
you can answer too if you can find out our email and send us one. Which One Piece character fruit would you like to eat?
James and Brown podcast at gmail.com.
There you go. There's a little plug there.
So yeah, Captain Earth,
great.
Amazing. Fantastic.
It's number one just because
best of the season so far.
Great atmosphere, great characters, great music.
Great action.
And they don't use CGI mechs.
Hand-drawn mechs will always be superior.
Oh, of course.
Always. Okay, so next is one that I hated, at least for the first episode.
And people have been saying that it was great, so I didn't hate it. It was Mekaku City Actors.
Yeah, this is a weird one.
2 episodes later, I cannot even tell you what the plot is.
I have a vague theory. I think basically how it's going to go is maybe for 5 episodes around there. Each episode will be about a singular character. We're going to get to know them, and you kind of get a hint of it at the end of the second episode where someone's trying to recruit them all together. So I think they're going to be brought together 5 or 6 episodes down the line. The first episode I didn't like because I didn't like the main character and I didn't like his AI companion, and the story was just about him. He's like a hikikomo. That's a hard word to say. He's a shut-in. Yeah. And so he has to... The only reason he leaves his house is because his keyboard breaks. And so it's about him having to deal with the mall he goes to. The terrorists take it over.
Yeah, the one time he goes out in over a year or something, he ends up in a terrorist hostage situation.
That was planned. I'm totally sure that was planned out.
I guess so.
I'm pretty sure people have had their eyes on him because the AI is not his, right?
What's with the red eye thing, man?
Those are the people that are going to be recruited.
Now, do you think that's just a stylistic thing that the animator's doing, or is that something that's actually?
I think it's just stylistic.
A power.
No, I don't think it's
they're just showing it off.
They're showing that these people are the people you should be paying attention to.
I don't know, man. Whenever her eyes were flashing red, people were paying attention to the main.
But people were always paying attention to her because she's the idol. Okay. So the second episode was about this idol girl who has a darker history, or dark-ish.
It was really sad.
Her dad dies. She blames herself for her dad's death, and her mom dies.
Yeah, her mom dies. It doesn't actually... you can tell if you're, half aware that the mom died at the end, because what happens at the beginning... apparently she was in the water drowning. The dad went in to save her. Dad died. Mom's like, it's okay. It's in this room that's raining in a hospital. At the end of everything... she goes back to that same hospital, and she's alone now. So we assume that her mom died. And she calls the idol company that had come earlier and says, "You know what? I'm ready for an idol." Now she's an idol. But
that was
popular.
In the past.
That was in the past. Now she's a super popular idol who can't go anywhere.
I don't. Okay, I like her character. One thing I don't understand is she tells her manager that her power to draw people in, people are always they notice her, and she says it's a curse. Okay, if it's a curse, why did you choose a profession where your job is to draw people towards you?
She probably didn't know that.
Everybody knows what a goddamn idol is.
Yeah, but she didn't know that she would be so popular. I don't think. Nisekoi.
It's obvious.
The animation is exactly like Nisekoi, isn't it?
It's like Bakemonogatari.
It's the same thing.
But it fits better.
It does.
It fits so much better.
And it's the really psychotic looking angles and the fish-eyed faces and all that stuff.
And this is why. The reason the animation works for Bakemonogatari is that the dialogue is very mainly by one character narrating. Sometimes it's between 2, but when it is, they keep the animation focused on 2 characters. Nisekoi is very rarely about one character monologuing. And so the animation is too schizophrenic to make for it to relate to it. Mekaku City Actors is the same as Bakemonogatari. Characters monologuing. So the animation style works very well.
Very beautiful animation style, by the way. It screams out Mirror's Edge.
I don't like the art.
I love the art because Mirror's Edge had these cutscenes in it that was really lame animation.
They were motion comics.
Yeah, motion comics. But I love that cel-shaded look to it. I mean, when I play Mirror's Edge, I just love the world. I love the bland and the really popping red colors and the popping blues. And I love how they artistically grab colors and pop them out. I just really like it. And those flashbacks with the girl were really profound. Like when they had the people who were talking as like vocal synthesizers and their shadows were the person instead of the object.
Yeah.
And the flowers being... I just thought that was really...
Yeah, it's like Bakemonogatari. It's... How do I say this? I'm not a fan... The art is different from Bakemonogatari. It's more, for lack of a better word, metallic. But the animation is good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good series. This one, it can go two ways, we were discussing. After all the characters are revealed, if the plot is sufficient enough to handle them, it'll be in the top 5 for me. If the plot cannot handle them, it will very quickly go to the potential drop list, just because it's so schizophrenic.
This is why the 3-episode thing, if it doesn't continue interesting me, if it's like the first episode, if the third episode is like the first episode, I'm dropping it next week.
I'll probably stick with it, just because it's been really hyped up. So
I don't buy into the hype.
That one's good. It's definitely in my top 5 for this season, which is crazy to think there's so many where narrowed it down.
It's on the fence for me.
So this is the...
No, we got one more.
Yeah, this is the 10th and 11th. There are two sport animes that are coming out.
One that I have not watched.
And one that I have. So we're talking about...
Haikyu.
And Baby Steps.
So let's talk about Haikyu first, because we've both seen that one.
Haikyu is awesome.
It's volleyball. And, okay, I'm going to say what I said for Kuroko and what I said for Ice Shield. I don't like volleyball. I didn't like basketball, and I didn't like the football. Haikyu makes me like volleyball.
Oh man, that one scene where he does that super fast sprint to the side and just destroys himself to try to get over.
The art and the animation is so beautiful in this series. It's so good.
And it's a perfect shonen because the main character isn't very good. Like he can jump. He can jump.
Oh yeah, that's his one power.
But he has to learn, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And I totally called it. I was like, we were talking about it, and they were facing each other. I'm like, dude, they're gonna end up on the same team. And you're like, well, I don't know, they're gonna be rivals. I'm like, he sets and he spikes.
Once you said that, I was like, oh, you got a point.
If they don't end up on the same team, then someone missed something at this company.
But at the same time, they're still kind of rivals.
Oh, and it's good. It's really good. And I love the way it's developing.
I love the seniors. They're so
seniors
funny.
Are really good.
The guy who keeps trying to intimidate them. Yeah. So funny.
But I don't know. It has a really good feeling to it. It's classic sports anime, right? They're aiming for the inter-high. They got to build up their team. After 2 episodes... Underdog school. You know what? After 2 episodes, it's great. We'll continue with it, but there's really not much else to talk about.
Yeah. I'm liking it.
It's good.
It had a crossover with Nisekoi.
Yeah, it did.
Called the Nisekyu. Did not know that. I discovered it last week. Holy crap, that was a good crossover. It was great.
I need to read that. There's another crossover with this really bulky guy and this girl. I don't know. I don't even know.
I love Nisekoi so much.
Okay, and the one that I watched, Baby Steps. This one's about tennis, and I love tennis. I like playing tennis. I used to play it all the time with my dad in the summertime. And I just like the strategy of it or whatever, but I didn't know how well it would cross over to anime. I know there's been others like Prince of Tennis and all those ones.
Don't watch Prince of Tennis. It's terrible.
I didn't watch it. There's also, do you remember Love 14? That YTV show that was... Anyways.
15 Love.
15 Love, yeah. Why?
It wasn't very good.
Whatever. It wasn't. But this one, I had high hopes. And you know what? It's good.
How many people do you think are going to understand that 15 Love reference?
Well, we were born in the 90s. If they were born in the 90s, they might understand.
Maybe. And they'd have to be Canadian, too.
Yeah, they would. Oh, well.
Okay, so that's like the ones that we're for sure following, at least for now.
Hold on.
What?
You didn't even let me talk about Baby Steps.
Oh.
You just totally cut me off.
Sorry.
I know you don't like the
anime. I thought you were done. Well,
okay,
I can't. I don't dislike it. I just haven't seen it.
Okay, you totally didn't. You wouldn't even give it the time of day. I never understood that. You got so mad at me for dropping fan service series like Blade and Soul, and you won't even give an awesome tennis anime a chance. Okay, so anyways, this anime, this kid, he's an amazing student because he's not very good at school. He studies really hard and makes meticulous notes. And so everyone in the classroom knows him for his amazing notes. And they pass notes all the time. And then one day this blonde girl comes in and says, hey, I need to borrow your history notes. And says, you need to borrow his because his are awesome. She borrows his notes and promptly dumps coffee and spills food all over his notes, and he freaks out because he loves his notes because he had to give her a real copy. He couldn't make a copy of it to give her. He had to give her the full thing. So she dumped it all over his thing, and he was just frazzled. And she goes, oh, sorry, and then leaves. And so he's really focused. People keep referencing him to be an old man because he's like, I need to pick up an activity once a week so that I can stay fit. And I was like, you're such an old man. So he wanders over to the tennis place because there's a free training session you can get to before you have to pay for the club. So he joins in and he sees the girl there that spilt all over his notes. And so he goes in, and outside is really nice old people playing tennis and all that stuff. But inside, it's pretty hardcore. Like, he picks up an immediate rival with this, like, elementary school kid. And they're doing, like, sprints and lunges and runs. And he passes out. He can't even handle it. He just faints. And so he wakes up, and he's really embarrassed. He's trying to watch the people play tennis. He eventually ends up leaving after watching a couple times. But then he keeps noticing the girl. And the girl keeps wanting him to come and says the coach wants you to come. So he goes back, learns a little more about tennis. And the funniest part is this girl, who he's beginning to get really interested in, is partnered up with another A person who's a guy. And this guy is so suspicious of the smart kid, the main character. He like growls at him all the time. And she's like, can you teach him how to serve, please? And she's over there helping him, learning. And he's getting super mad. And he goes, sure. Bam! And he like smokes, like tries to destroy him by serving the tennis balls at him because he's just so angry. And at the end of it, I'm not going to spoil it, but you notice something because this guy's super strategic and he needs to try over and over again. He spends an entire Saturday on the tennis wall practicing because he wants to get better and he can't get it right. And he's trying to measure his arm with like a protractor because he's trying to write it all down. He's making notes about tennis. I don't know. It has a lot of forward motion that this anime could go. Like at the very beginning, he lost at a tennis match. He was pretty good. Lost at a tennis match and wrote down in his book like angles, and he has all these graphs and charts. And so that kind of mental tennis player I think is going to be pretty cool. So,
you know what that reminds me of?
What?
I don't know how much you've watched of it, but Initial D. How much have you watched Initial D?
As much as you guys have showed me.
Okay, I don't know how much that is. But there's one character called Ryosuke, and he does all of his racing like that. He makes graphs. He does everything by simulation and just all calculation and stuff. And that's how he got good at racing. I always thought that was really dumb because, I mean, it's racing. You have to get behind the wheel at one point, but he doesn't actually do that until the actual race. It's kind of weird.
But he's the main character, so it's interesting. And there's a lot of room to grow, and he's actually really bad. Like, he can't play tennis worth crap. So he sucks. And there's a lot of forward movement with him, which is really cool. So it's there. It's one of the 3 sports anime that I'm super interested in this season.
Okay.
So, yeah.
This isn't an anime we're covering, but I just want to, because we mentioned it in passing, I just want to talk about this. Nisekoi, the manga, they introduced a new girl.
Yes, they did, and I'm caught up now.
I really like her.
She's great, and she had a key.
I like older women.
Yeah.
Because they're more mature. She's much more mature than all the others. That's why I like her.
But she's definitely going to be the brunt of all of the anger. And she glared at Onodera. Why did she do that?
I think she knows something about Onodera's past.
I think she knows that all the girls, except for the ones that don't have keys, were at one point a childhood friend with him, right? And so she would have seen...
No, she doesn't.
She would have seen...
Maybe.
She would have seen Mary. She would have seen Chitoge. She would have seen Onodera. All of them be together. She would have seen it. So she was probably...
I don't know. Something happened with Onodera in the past.
She's
really
only 2 years
interested.
older. That's not that bad.
Yeah. I don't like older women.
I thought it was like 4 years. Well, my fiance is 2 years younger than me. I'm kind of biased in that sense.
Doesn't make any sense. I'd be okay if a girl was 2 years older than me.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
But yeah, I want to say I've jumped ship from Chitoge to Yui, but because I really like older women.
Oh man,
she's so much more mature.
I'm all aboard the Onodera.
Gay.
It's gonna happen.
No, I really
just like the end of World God Only Knows.
It's not gonna. We're not talking about that right now. Well, he's gonna end up with Chitoge probably. Anyway, Nizuko's good. Moving on. So those are all the animes we're like following right now.
They're not really on the borderline of dropped. They're kind of like
Mekaku is for me.
Yeah, but they're not really on our potential drop list. We're following them. That's 10 of them. 1/5 of the season. I think we've narrowed it down.
I'm still not done covering everything. I haven't watched Baby Steps, for example.
That's true. So now we're on to our potential drop list. So,
not very big right now.
Which one? Yeah, it's only 3. Probably because we don't remember the others because they were dropped already.
Yeah, mostly. If something that we didn't like, we just dropped instantly, we can't be bothered to remember the name.
So these 3 are on Crunchy, all of them. So
yeah. First one is Valkyrie of Darkness. I say Valkyrie because I can't pronounce the actual word that they use.
It's like Scottish, like Brynhildr or something like that.
It's friggin' Norse, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Norse. Brynhildr or something.
Brynhildr of Darkness.
It's about this guy who had this childhood friend called Kuroneko. That's what he called her. It's not her actual name.
You mean Exoworld?
And her
Her name was Kuroneko, wasn't it?
In XL World? No, it was something else.
It was something close.
I think it was Kurohime, Black Princess.
I think it was something like that.
Or something.
Kuroneko was from Oremo.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Anyway, his childhood friend, she liked looking at stars. She dies. He's all traumatized about it because it's kind of his fault. And then flash forward like 10 years or whatever, this girl transfers into his school and she looks exactly like her. And that's kind of where it goes. And then like she comes to him, he's like, "You're gonna die today," and then she like saves his life. I don't sound very excited about this because I'm not.
Me neither. I dropped it after the first episode.
Basically, she's a witch, and the first episode was it was okay. Second episode was a lot better because they show what happens when a witch dies, and my god, is that brutal. But the reason this is on our potential drop list, it is for me because you already dropped it, is because it's only okay, and it's only barely okay because I don't like the main character at all. The main girl, Kuroneko, is okay. She's okay. There's like 2 more girls that need to be introduced. The action is pretty good. What little action there's been. If there's no action next episode, I'm dropping it. Yeah. My 3-episode rule, it's gone. So you got 1 week left. Valkyrie of Darkness, you better make it good.
So the next one is The World is Beautiful. I have not watched this one yet.
Yeah, I was literally watching this like an hour before our podcast started.
Oh, okay.
And the first episode is okay. And then the second episode, it gets good. Like, the first episode is completely about developing the main character. And you learn what kind of person she is.
You know, it actually looked like, by the synopsis, an anime that I would be interested in. A very slow-moving romance that's budding, and they eventually fall in love or something.
I don't see... I see a very small chance of romance happening. Because she's, like, a lot older than him.
Oh.
Yeah, like, he's a kid.
Oh, okay.
And she's... I think she's around 16, 17, maybe 20. The kid is probably around 11 or 12. And, like, she fully realizes that. Like, she meets him. She's like, I can't marry a kid. Yeah. And then the guy gets really mad. But this is what's good. The relationship between her and the king, who is the kid, is great because she's the only one who treats him like a child. And at the same time, she says his eyes are not that of a child. And she wants to know why. And why is he the way he is? I'm going to spoil a little bit of the second episode.
Whatever, yeah.
She finds out that his mom was killed. She was assassinated. And he's a very totalitarian ruler where he'll take over anything. He rules the world right now. Like, he's just dominated everything. He's invaded countries. He rules everything. And he's kind of in a state of peace right now. Everything's in a lull because he's taken over everything. And then someone tries to kill him. And then he looks at it, like, this whole time she's been trying to, like, convince him to, like, have fun and stuff. And he just looks in a mirror and, like, his butler's there or whatever, his right-hand man. And he says, I finally remembered. And the butler's like, what? He says, the world isn't like she says. The world isn't peaceful. The only reason the world exists is to make people suffer. And the only way to make the world a better place is to conquer it. And he gets this really beautifully dark look in his eyes that I love. Similar to Kal-El when he showed that hate. And he's like, life is finally about to be fun again. He has fun in causing things pain because he himself has been caused a lot of pain.
Well, I'm pretty interested in this now.
It's really, really interesting.
Why is this on a potential drop list?
Because it might get really uninteresting.
That's true.
The girl also has... I'm just going to also spoil this because it's spoiling the first episode anyway. She's like Nina. She has the power to control wind, but she's not nearly as OP as Nina. Like, there's rules for it. So it's kind of balances. But it's really interesting. I think you'll like it.
Okay. I thought she had something about rain.
Yeah, she can summon rain. She uses the wind to summon rain.
Oh, I see.
I don't know.
Okay, then the last one on our potential drop list is 1 Week Friends, or Isshuukan Friends, as you might know it.
Isshuukan Friends.
Yeah, so the problem with this one was the first episode, we already knew the plot twist, and everybody did.
It's in the synopsis.
I mean, it's kind of a bother that you watch the entire thing, and you're like, oh, this is so good, but then you're like, well, she's gonna forget. And it's leading up, and then she forgets. And then he gets shut down at the end, and that's episode 1. And man, it was slow. Like, it was...
It would have been better if we didn't know the plot twist.
Yeah, it would have kept us a lot more engaged. The second episode...
But that's why the second episode works.
Was good, because we didn't know what was going to happen, because he had to start again, and he was dealing with the situation. What we all knew was going to happen is that she forgot. And it was really good. Her character design for how she reacts to him is pretty good.
It's a very sweet anime.
I like the way that she puts up the notes and stuff, and how they like karaoke, and how bashful they get, and the date. You know, it's a really sweet. It's really good.
It's 50 First Dates, the anime,
yeah,
and it's a lot better than 50 First Dates
because there's no Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
yeah.
One thing that I told you about is I don't like the false dark undertones in the anime. There's one point in the second episode where he tells her to keep a notebook it might help her like remember stuff. And her face goes all dark in shadow, and she like just mutters, "Oh, but that doesn't." And then like she gets cut off, and he's like, "What'd you say?" And she's like, "Oh, nothing." I was like, "Oh, something really serious must have happened."
I was like, "Oh, maybe like the notebook, like there's some magic going on where that's why she forgets."
But no, it just turns out it doesn't help her remember, and then it makes her sad.
She just gets really sad because she's like, "This isn't me. This isn't my life."
It's just.
But I liked it. It was really cute. Like at the end of it, when she was sitting there, and he was like, "I'm sorry for trying to force me on a friend. I need to do this the proper way each time." And she writes out, he's very selfish and inconsiderate, but he apologized, and so he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Like that she's working through those emotions.
The reason this is on our potential drop list is because it can very easily go into the boring territory.
I don't know where they're going to go. Like, how often are you going to repeating their friendship?
Yeah.
Like, what's the next plot point?
This really can't go above 12 episodes. It really can't. It has to stop.
And if they do, it definitely won't go beyond 12 episodes because I'll drop it.
I know it's a manga. I know it has a manga base, and I know someone who reads it, and he told me it's really funny. I haven't found the series all that funny at all.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like
it's entertaining.
I didn't laugh at once.
It's true.
I don't understand where the funny is.
Yeah, I laughed a lot in No Game No Life.
Yeah, there's no gag or any. It's just not like it's on my potential drop list because if I don't watch it. Like, I don't think anybody did watch this, but Kimi Toboko or Kimi Niboko or
Kimi
Toboku, that one, I loved it. I watched both seasons because it was super slow, came out in spring, it was just something to watch, and this is probably what Isshuukan Friends is going to be. It's just something to watch on a sunny April afternoon or something.
I don't know. If I miss a week of it, and like I have like 2 episodes built up, I probably wouldn't bother. I
might just wait and build up, and then catch up on it, if anything.
Going back to No Game No Life for a second, that's an anime I really want to binge watch. Like because there are 2 episodes that I watched back to back, and I was like, I need more right now.
Yeah.
I want to binge it, but I'll wait a week.
Yeah, it's one of the only ones except I think the top 3 for me are Black Bullet, No Game No Life, and Captain Earth, and those 3 are the ones that I really wanted to binge watch.
I prefer Chaika over Black Bullet.
Really?
Yeah. It has better character development.
I guess so. Yeah, you're right. I think Black Bullet is slipping very quickly down to number 4, unless something big happens.
Yeah.
So the next one is kind of Others and Disputed. So this is kind of where me and Rajpreet don't really agree on. We've mostly agreed on the others. We got it down to about 13 anime that we're probably going to keep watching, which is a lot of anime.
Probably more, definitely more for me.
Depends on what you find that I haven't watched yet. Because during seasons, I only really watch Crunchy.
Yeah, you're a Crunchyroll purist.
Because it's so easy. It's such a pain to hook up my laptop to an HDMI and find the website and use the mouse and click the next button. Like Crunchy's on my Apple TV.
I'm shaking my head right now.
Come on. Like I can watch Crunchy anywhere. It resumes like YouTube.
I only watch anime on my computer because that's how I like it.
Well, I have a whole system set up here that works better for me. So anyways, that's why I don't have to talk about anything about Shippuden unless it's good like Noragami was, and I'll go to it and binge it. So
Noragami was great.
So now we're at the Others and Disputed. So the first one...
These are all animes that I'm keeping up with and you aren't.
I call it the brown section then. But this one, I don't even know the name. Card Girl one?
It's like... it has a complex name. It's like Infected, Insected. It's the one where it's the card game one. Man, that's vague. I'm only 1 episode in because I like it so much that I've been saving it for last for my catching up. But there's so much I have to catch up on.
You love card games.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively.
Yeah.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid. I grew up watching Yu-Gi-Oh! In elementary school. I freaking love card games so much. I bring over card games for us to play.
Yeah, and I can see why when, especially anime, which makes, if it's done right, everything awesome, I can see why you'd like a card game anime.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have that draw.
This is why I fully accept you not liking the series.
Especially because it's about female avatars and all this garbage that I think is just silly. But whatever.
I love it.
Full respect, but it's already dropped for me. Not because it's horrible, just because I'm not interested in it at all.
I respect that. Yeah. I respect that. I'm only 1 episode in. Like I said, I'll be caught up next week. From the 1 episode I've seen, I freaking love it. It's great. Next one, Akuma no Riddle. Yeah. You are very, very much on the fence about this.
I don't know. Like, it has so many Yuri... undertones to it and overtones. It's just there. And, sure, the story is pretty interesting, but there's only women. Only Yuri.
Hey, the teacher's a guy.
It's going to be ecchi. Yeah, but the teacher's pretty cool. He's kind of creepy. He's exactly like the Chitoge's watch guy. He's exactly like
what was his name? Like Klein or something?
Claude or something.
Claude, right.
So he's exactly like that. But, Akuma no Riddle, it can go places, but it's going to be one of those 12-core, very stylistically good, ecchi anime that comes out.
You told me to tell you if it gets better. Yeah. And I'm only one episode in. And if it does, I'll tell you.
It feels exactly like the style of what anime am I watching? Like that zombie Deska one.
Zombie
I watched it.
I'm surprised you watched it. That had a lot of fan service.
It was. I don't know. It was. I don't know. It just didn't seem prominent. But
I watched the first season of that. But man, I will not watch.
You know what I mean, though? That style of anime. It's pretty much like.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's like a company has an idea that isn't really that fleshed out. Or it's overdone, and they think that they can just shove girls in there with some Yuri and some sketch and think it's going to be good. And that's why I just drop it. You know what the other one's like that? Blade and Soul. But you know what? Blade and Soul has its own footing because it's based off an RPG. And I understand that. Is that right?
Maybe. I don't remember. Blade and Soul, all right. I watch Blade and Soul because it's the same reason I watch really cheesy action movies.
Yeah.
I get lots of blood, I get lots of gore, and I get lots of fan service.
We turned it on, and I was like, I'm not watching this. And you're like...
We got into a big argument.
You're like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like...
I was so angry.
It's like the main character is sexualized. All the women are sexualized. I'm not going to watch this.
We were 10 seconds in and you were off.
But then, you were like, oh, the main character's... Oh. And she's like full on giant cleavage. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
And you know what? And the story wasn't even that good.
Oh, the story's just...
It's just You know what, Rajpreet? You had it on a tab. You were going to watch it. And you kept bumping it back. You never even got to it.
I'll get to it.
You watch it. You tell everyone how it is. I will not watch it.
I don't know if I'm going to cover it on the podcast because it doesn't have too much substance.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a cheesy action movie kind of thing. I watch it because I enjoy it. I would call it a guilty pleasure, except I'm not guilt. I'm not filled with guilt.
So here's another one that we're actually interested in, but we'll probably binge watch just because of the sheer amount.
I don't know.
It's this alchemy one.
Okay, I'm going to butcher the hell out of this name because it's hard as hell to pronounce. Atelier, Escha, and Logy. Escha and Logy being the main characters. And it has a subtitle, Tasogare no Sora no Renkinjutsushi.
So it's pretty much based off a video game. Rajpreet thinks this because he was trying to piece it together. But there was a video game that came out where it was basically catered towards girls.
I'm positive it was based on this game. I'm positive.
And it's pretty much about building stuff in an alchemy pot. And
this video game is RPG specifically directed to women. It has an entire series. The reviews are always it's above average, but it's like a good entry point RPG, especially for women. And the main character is a girl, and she's not sexualized in any way. But there's not much in the way of combat. It's about ingredients gathering and like the alchemy. You just make stuff.
It was really slow. The only reason that we were vaguely interested because they had a Lapida castle in the sky feel.
The entire time I was like, I'm not going to watch this after this episode. And then the very last scene, they show this giant ruins in the sky. They're like, look, we might explore this season. And then I was like, God damn it, now I have to watch it.
And you know what? I will, but probably in 2 months when it's.
I'm going by my 3-episode rule. If it doesn't interest me in the next 2 episodes.
You can do that. You kind of invest more into that. I'm not going to do that. And the last one, well, there's a couple more. There's probably about a dozen that we're not going to talk about. And if you think we should, again, you can email us at jamesmbrownpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
But the last one we're going to talk about is...
I think I should say this. Inugami-san to Nekoyama-san. This is a short. I'm not going to go very in-depth about this. It's just a short about a girl who's like a dog but likes cats, and a girl who's like a cat personality-wise but likes dogs. And so they get together and they basically fall in love. But they don't fall in love, kind of, because the dog girl, because as dogs are, they're super friendly, and she's automatically like, I love you, and the cat's like, no. And she scratches her face. It's really funny. But then cats are where they get jealous really easily.
Yeah.
So when the dog girl finds another girl, the cat girl just goes up to her and she says, you better not move on from me. And then she's all embarrassed, oh, this is so cute. It's 3 minutes long.
Yeah, I drop Yuri so fast. If there's even a hint, I just don't care.
Yuri works really well in a short, like we said before, it works well if it's not the center focus, and it also works pretty well as a short.
Sakura one?
Yeah, that's why Sakura Trick was terrible. It was the center focus, and it was 24 goddamn minutes long.
Yeah. It
was so boring. But this is 3 minutes long. I can handle it. It's good for just a short watch.
And speaking of just a short watch, but it's not, that last one that Rajpreet's watching just because it's something to watch, and I'm just not even worrying about it. It's that Bunny Cafe one.
Oh, is Your Order a Rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching it because it's just something to watch.
It's just
similar to Blade and Soul, except I don't watch it for the fan service. I watch it because it's cute.
And this is pretty much where the anime start petering off. There's a bunch of other ones, like there's that lawyer one that came out.
I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm gonna watch the one about the manga assistant. I haven't watched that one yet.
I'm not. I've heard so many ecchi things about that. You can go ahead.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
But I'm not gonna watch it.
The one that we both still need to watch is Breakblade. That has like 2 or 3 episodes out right now.
Breakblade?
Do you remember?
There's Black Bullet, Blade and Soul. What's Breakblade?
It's like, I don't know. It's very shonen. So yeah, we still have to watch that one. Holy crap, we've been going for a while.
Yeah, we're at an hour and 10 minutes now. So
I thought we would finish like 20 minutes ago.
I don't know. There's just so much. The problem is there's so many anime coming out this season, and a lot of them are good.
I'm not going to talk about Inugami again. I'm not going to talk about Blade and Soul again. Depending on how the card one goes, I'll talk about it. Akuma also, same with Alchemy.
Pretty much everything on Crunchy we're not going to talk about.
We're probably going to drop Valkyrie, or I'm probably going to drop Valkyrie.
I've already dropped it.
Yeah. So our list will be around 13-ish.
It's going to be, 13-ish, which isn't that bad. I mean, if we cut, like now that we've introduced the backstory to everything, we can just kind of
our reviews will be so much quicker.
Yeah, it's going to be updates of what happens, kind of big things that happen. So one of the big and most important things, if you've been kind of sideswiped by this anime or this podcast about anime, is that we, by Saturday, have watched everything that's up to Saturday, hopefully. And so we're going to talk about it. So try to watch it beforehand so you don't spoil.
Yeah, or if you don't care about spoilers, go ahead and just listen to us discuss it. So, next week, like I said last week, I mentioned in the very beginning of the Pilot's Love Song podcast, the world godly knows was ending.
Yeah.
And now it has officially ended. The last chapter came out. I read it. You read it.
Yep.
And the world godly knows, a series that I devoted around 4 years to. Oh, I've been following it for around 4 to 5 years.
It's been going that long.
It's been going for 6. So I've been up to it like pretty quickly. I love this series so much, and to sort of celebrate its finishing, our next podcast we're going to be covering it.
Yeah.
Both the anime and the manga, since the manga continues on.
And since the anime will be relatively short to cover, so we're hoping for a sub-hour podcast next week.
I am confident we will break the 1.5 hour mark next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm confident.
Brace yourselves.
Well, we'll tell you, like, you can skip ahead this much time if you want to get to the recap portion.
Yeah, in the description, well, obviously at this point, it's too late, and you've probably already seen it, but usually the description will have numerical points at which we talk about various stuff. Don't know how much time we're going to invest into this, but hopefully it'll help you kind of bookmark where you're going to go to jump into
if there's some you just don't care about hearing, you can just skip over them.
Next week, God forbid, you're not really interested in World God Only Knows.
Oh, please watch God Only Knows.
You can skip over
it's so good.
And just listen to our cap of anime for that week.
Here, okay, I binged watched God Only Knows in one weekend. All of our listeners, you can do that too. Just binge watch it and then come back next week and hear us talk about it.
You too can have no life for a weekend. We recommend it.
So, I think that's it.
I think that's good, yeah.
All right, so I'm Raj of James and Brown.
And I'm Spencer of James and Brown.
Next week, we talk about something that I hold near and dear. See you guys later.
Bye, guys.